So we talk about diversifying all the time, and today I'm going further. There's billionaires cashing out, like Zuckerberg, Bezos, Jamie Dimon. They're selling off massive amounts of their own company's stocks. Analysts think the CEOs may be bracing for a market downturn and are getting out before the tech bubble bursts. Now, just as insider CEOs diversify, Americans like myself and Greg are diversifying into precious metals. More on that later. I have a gold IRA. I've talked about it many times. This helps protect my portfolio. Now, the CEOs are dumping billions of their own stock, and we have an overheated stock market. It continues to climb to new heights, and investors feed the frenzy with a fear of missing out. They keep investing. Economic insiders are now saying that they're unloading billions of dollars of stocks. Their motivation for divesting from the market could hold serious implications for regular Americans. Here's just a few of the major recent transactions. Jeff Bezos sold 50 million shares of Amazon worth $8.5 billion in just 9 days. Massive. Prior to 2019, he never sold more than $3 billion in a whole year. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Chase, talked about him many times on this channel, sold 822,000 shares of his company for $150 million just last week. Now, this is the first sale of JP stock since he became CEO 18 years ago. What's that tell you? Leon Black, who was the former CEO of Apollo Global Management, sold $172.8 million in stock. Was also the first company sale he made of his own stock. Zuckerberg, Facebook, sold about 1.4 million shares of Meta, worth around $638 million. This is on top of selling hundreds of thousands of shares in the last 3 months, coming to an approximate of $600 million for a total of $1.2 billion. Guys, he has not sold Meta shares for almost 2 years prior to this. Now, the Walton Trust, they sold $1.5 billion of Walmart stock this month. Stocks were sold as the S&P index is at an all-time high. This past year, it has risen 28%, and the NASDAQ is up nearly 40%. During that time, Meta stock went up 186%, JP Morgan 30%, and Amazon close to 90%. All three are trading close to record highs. These guys are not dumb. Now, many of the sales were made according to trading plans that automatically sell shares at a specific date or stock price. The goal is to being able to avoid any hint of insider trading. The reasons for selling, however, analysts are saying that there's some motivation for the sale. One consultant said that sales could be due to the upcoming election. I'm on board with that. The election's going to be rocky. We see what happened in past markets. Market gets turbulent. Wealthy stockholders may want to take advantage of tax breaks implemented during the Trump administration before they're potentially removed by a new Congress after these upcoming elections. Alan Johnson, who's the president of Johnson Associates, said, with our politics and everything else going on geopolitically, maybe it won't be as good of a year from now or 2 years from now, maybe even 4. They may want to diversify their holdings after cashing out their shares that had ballooned in value. Now, I can't fault that. That could be plausible. They could be sending a message by selling massive chunks of stocks, and it may be a more dire message to the individual investor like yourself or myself. Typically, if CEOs are buying shares, it shows a confidence in their future growth potential of the company. Selling, on the other hand, implies that the shares are fully valued and it's time to get out while the getting is good. There is a possibility that these billionaires' view from above is giving them a different perspective on the economy and where it's headed. I've told you many times where I think we're heading, and it is not north. Dimon's already sounded off the alarm on the astronomical level of government debt. He called it, and I quote, the most predictable crisis currently facing the economy. He's also concerned about the impact of lingering inflation and growing geopolitical conflicts. We talk about it all the time on this channel. There's so much going on. This market is fake. According to Dimon, the stocks are riding high on a soft landing that may never come. And he's now comparing today's economy to that of the 70s. I did a whole video on that. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and you can see that video. That decade began with a positive outlook on growing employment and fiscal stimulus. Now, it quickly transformed into runaway inflation, stagnant growth, and record high interest rates. Or as Dimon put it himself, markets change their mind pretty quickly. I cannot disagree with that statement. Big fan of Jamie Dimon over here. Remember in 1972, you felt great too. If you were around, of course that is. I was not. And before any crash, you felt great, and then things can change. Now, he's not alone in this standpoint. Last October, Deutsche Bank said they saw a striking number of parallels with the 1970s. Now, meanwhile, Apollo Global Management, the one whose former CEO just sold his stocks off, I just mentioned that, said in the current bubble in AI stocks is bigger than the internet era. Wow, that would be mind-blowing to me. And I quote, the top 10 companies in the S&P 500 today are more overvalued than the top 100 companies during the bubble in the mid-1990s. Torsten Slok, I've mentioned him before on this channel, chief economist at Apollo Global Management. He wrote that. That's him. Big fan of the name Torsten, too. And Morgan Stanley's chief economist said a hard landing recession is guaranteed as the full impact of Fed rate hikes have yet to hit the economy. She cited Dimon's recent comments, and she said, we will have a hard landing at some point. I guarantee you that. We're all wondering when that does come. Now, another quote she said was, the point that Dimon makes is that there are these cumulative impacts that build over time. And we are in the camp that if we haven't seen all the tightening impacts of monetary policy, okay? Now, for evidence of a looming recession, Morgan Stanley pointed to corporate defaults reaching their highest level since the pandemic. Now, that's a massive level. We saw what happened there. It was a mess. Everything just plummeted. Also, bank lending has fallen for 3 straight quarters, and inflation continues to come in higher than expected. I don't care what they say on the radio or the news. It's all fake. I read the reports. A recession, even in a mild tone, could cause a 40% drop in value of the stock market, pummeling retirement funds. If you're close to retirement age, you need to listen to what I say next. Billionaire CEOs and financiers share at least one trait with Americans. They don't want to lose money. That's why they're dumping right now. The motivations for these massive sell-offs can never be fully known. But if those in the know are shedding stocks and diversifying their holdings, perhaps the rest of us should investigate how to protect our assets from any potential crash. Now, you guys have followed us for a long time. If it's your first view, thanks for watching. We talk about this all the time. We feel we are heading south. We do not feel there's a soft landing. We feel that things are going to be very turbulent with the election, the wars, inflation, corporate debt, and most importantly, in my opinion, the all-time high credit card debt. What are we going to do about that? How is the economy going to recover? How is the S&P going to keep going to new heights like every single month? It's crazy. Nvidia cannot carry us forever, you guys. That is a fact. We are headed towards darker times. I'm not going to say we're going to hit a full-blown recession like I have in months past. Maybe I changed my mind a little about that, but I do think it's on the horizon. I think it's coming, but soft landing is not coming. So if you're not diversified, you need to think about that right now. Get some money out of the market and park it somewhere that's going to go up when the market eventually does tank. And I've said why it's going to tank in this video. Major CEOs are dumping their shares. What are they buying? A lot of them are buying precious metals. Hit the link below if you're interested in that. Greg and I are big precious metals advocates. We diversified our portfolios by adding gold to our home storage as well as gold IRA. I'm more of the gold IRA guy. It's in my retirement because I think the next 10, 20 years when I'm going to retire is going to be very chaotic. You can add it below. There's a link. You get matched up with a company of your choice. Do it or don't do it. Don't say I didn't warn you. If the big guys, the billionaires, are dumping billions of dollars in stocks and all the signs point to recession, do not be held without gold or silver, and maybe even a little bit Bitcoin too. All-time high today, by the way. Cheers.